This time we're going to go over debug mode. The Flask run command can do more than just start the development server. By enabling debug mode, the server will automatically reload if code changes and will show an interactive debugger in the browser if an error occurs during a request. So this is pretty self-explanatory. The Flask run can do more than just start the server. And if you enable debug mode, the server will automatically reload the changes versus you having to constantly stop the server and start it over again. So what I mean by that is, let's say I go here and navigate to the sites that we have here. This might, oh wow, I'm not even connected to the internet. Oh goodness, but that's okay because this is localhost. So as you can see here, we have hello world, but if I go here and I try to change this to, let's just say universe, I don't know, and I try to go here and I try to refresh this, then as you can see, we made another request to the home page here, but the changes weren't made or there wasn't any update. So what we can do is we can run it in debug mode, and when we do that, then the code will automatically update as we update it. So if we go down here, the debugger allows executing arbitrary Python code from the new browser. It is protected by a pin but still represents a major security risk. Do not run a development server or debugger in a production environment. So if you have your debugger on, then that would allow you to execute random Python code within the browser. But obviously that's a major security risk because hackers could get into that and do something malicious or just pretty much hack into your system. They don't want you to run or do not run the development server or debugger in a production environment. So here we have this in production, but debug is off. So that's okay. We shouldn't have production and debug on. That would be bad. Well, since we're using localhost or since we're running our program from this machine only, this isn't really bad because this program is only able to be accessed from the computer that you're on. But if you were actually, public and in production and debug mode was on, then of course you will be getting requests from pretty much anywhere and you don't want that. So what they're saying here is production and debug mode should not be on. So these two should not be, concurrent. To enable all development features, set the Flask environment variable or Flask in environment variable to development before calling Flask run. So what I can do here is I can put up, let me go to CMD. I can put set Flask env, and then I can put development, enter, and then Flask run. And if this would hurry up, as you can see, this is still running with debug off because I forgot to run this from the command line. Okay, so if you're running these commands from a built-in terminal, sometimes it might not work. So what I have to do here is I have to actually execute this from the command line. So I have to go here, open the command prompt, and then I have to navigate to this folder. So cd PyCharm projects slash Flask tutorials. Press enter. Cannot find path. Um, Maybe I'm spelling something wrong. Let me see. PyCharm projects. Oh, didn't spell tutorials right. So tutorials, not turtle. And this should go right. And if I go here and then I try to type the command, so I go set Flask env equal to development, and then I go to Flask run. If this would hurry up, as you can see, we are in a development environment and debug is on. Debug is on. We go here goes our pin. The debugger is active. So since we're in development mode, this is okay. But if we were in production mode, this would not be okay because obviously our debugger is active. So here, this is pretty much how we enable debug mode using Flask. Now, I'm going to go more into debugging, so I'm going to go debugging application errors. As far as development server, command line interface, and logging and handling application errors maybe another time because these are some pretty extensive topics. But since we're going into debugging here, and it's was such a short summary, pretty much we're just gonna go a little bit more into it. So I'm gonna click here, and let me connect to my internet first. Oh goodness. Okay, so right here, connect. Yes, this is okay. Now this should work. If it would hurry up. Go here, refresh the page, and hopefully this works sometime soon. Okay. Debugging application errors in production. Do not run the development server or enable the built-in debugger in a production environment. We pretty much just said that. The debugger allows executing arbitrary Python code from the browser. It's protected by a pin, but that should not be relied on for security. So the reason they have the pin is because let's say you do accidentally enter production mode with the debug mode on. Then a hacker couldn't easily access your debugger without having the debug pin. Almost like having a lock to a door or something, or a key to a door. You can't get in as easily without the key, obviously. So the pin is there to protect you from being hacked. Use an error logging tool such as Sentry as described in error logging tools, or enable logging and notifications as described in logging. I'm not really going to be going over logging errors here, maybe in the next video or actually down the line. But yeah, okay, so if you have access to the server, you can add some code to start an external debugger if request.remote address, even though this is ADDR, matches your IP. Some IDE debuggers also have a remote mode, so breakpoints on the server can be interacted with locally. Only enable a debugger temporarily. So this is more into external debugging. I will get into that when we get down here into the external debuggers, so I'll come to that. So the built-in debugger, because that's what we're actually using right now. The built-in, I believe this is Workzig. The built-in Workzig development server provides a debugger which shows an interactive traceback in the browser when an unhandled error occurs during a request. This debugger should only be used during development. So this is the debugger. This is your oh my goodness. This is your interactive debugger that is used for development. So it's pretty much used to show the stack trace or the errors that have occurred in your application. Warning, the debugger allows executing arbitrary Python code from the browser. As you can see, this is a very big issue because you can be hacked. It is protected by a pin, but still represents a major security risk. Do not run the development server or debugger in production environment. We just said that. To enable the debugger, run a development server with the Flask environment variable set to development. This puts Flask in debug mode, which changes how it handles some errors and enable the debugger and reloader. So we just did this over here in the command line. Now, Flask can only be set as an environment variable. When running from Python code, passing debug equals true enables debug mode, which is mostly equivalent. Debug mode can be controlled separately from Flask M with the Flask debug environment variable as well. So we can go about turning on our debugger multiple ways. We can use the Flask M environment variable, or we can do it when running Python code by passing debug equals true. So here, let me just do this really quick. I'm going to cut or exit this, move this right here temporarily, and then I'm going to check if underscore name is equal to um, underscore main. So pretty much we're running this program, or this is the program that we're executing, app.py. Then we're going to put app.run, and then we're going to set the debug parameter to true. So as you can see, we have this here. And now instead of typing Flask run here, what we're going to do is we're going, oh, well, actually here, we're going to type Python app.py. So Python app.py, give this a little while. And as you can see, we're in a development environment and the debug mode is on. Debugger is active, and then you get your pin. So that's another way of doing it. You can also doing it by setting the, what is this? This was the Flash debug environment variable to true as well. This is just depending on, if you want to go about that route. I'm obviously not going to show you because this is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, so this is the command we just used here. Development server and command line interface, which is what I said I will get into more detail later because these are some pretty extensive topics. Have more information about running the debugger, debug mode, and development mode. More information about the debugger can be found in the WorkZig documentation. So that's pretty much it for this one. I'm sorry, I know that was a little bit bad. Let's just say that. But hopefully you guys understand it. And yeah, till next time.